You could even be feeling stress, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, this is the ironic thing. But doesn't it just show the power of finding a meaning, finding a purpose, chasing fulfillment is so important rather than these meaningless bouts of empty happiness.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's definitely places for happiness and meaningless emptiness, happiness at times, you know. You might get happiness from having like a coffee. And I'm not telling you not to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you to try and find your meaning in life. So, jumping off meaning, the author, I cannot pronounce her name, Emily Smith, let's just, because she's got a middle name I can't pronounce. Emily Smith identifies 4 core elements that contribute to a meaningful life. Belonging, being in relationships where you are valued for who you are. Purpose, using your strength to serve others and contribute to something beyond yourself. Storytelling, creating a coherent narrative about your life that explains how you became who you are. Transcendence, experiencing moments that lift you above the daily hustle that connects you to a larger reality. So this is just one way to interpret meaning, but it would be interesting to break them down. So belonging, being in relationships where you're valued for who you are. I am going to caveat this before we get into it. How would one define who they are? Difficult question, right?
Very difficult question. And I don't think I've got the answer. I think the best way to know who you are is only you can answer that question. Like, I know who I think it's what you enjoy doing. It's where you find the fulfillment. It's where you get emotional. It's every sort of non-physical reality that you perceive.
Yeah.
Is that a good answer? I don't know.
Well, the ironic thing is, I'm sure defining who you are is very different and intrinsic to each person. So defining who you are would likely, for me, mean understanding your core values and beliefs. So understanding with some rigidity what your core values and beliefs are and what you like and what you dislike. Again, interests, I think, would definitely play a part. Strengths, I think what you're good at would definitely come into it, and also past experiences. So it's all going to be an amalgamation together, which would help you understand, but it would very much require self-awareness to be able to understand that. And you could argue the higher levels of self-awareness you are, the more you understand who you are. But I did also hear this very curious quote, which is, the more I understand who I am, the more I understand I can change, which might seem overwhelming for some, but I think that's really great.
Yeah. I think it gives you a starting point.
This is it. And it also doesn't define you to a box. Just because this is who you think you are right now doesn't mean you can't change. Doesn't mean you can't become different. But yeah, steps to define who you are: reflect on your past, identify your core values and belief, recognize your strengths, so what comes naturally, observe emotions, make intentional choices, define your ideal self. That's a really interesting one. Embrace your dynamic nature and explore new things. Yeah. Purpose. Use your strength to serve others or contribute to something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting with that one about finding meaning is contributing to something beyond yourself, serving others. So it's very much sounds like this definition of meaning is serving others or contributing more than you would take. I think this is something you talk about quite a lot, which is trying to be in service of others. Try to be a surplus to resource rather than a drain.
Yeah, for sure. I think that should be a fundamental on whether or not you can be considered a good human.
Just trying to help and support others.
Yeah, I think like you're here. Whether you like it or not, we're all here on Earth now. Why wouldn't you try and benefit everyone else's life? All that's going to do is make other people, number one, like you more, but number two, have an impact on somebody else's life that they can take forwards and hopefully help other people. And then, like, we're all here together. Why would you choose to upset people that you're going to have to live in the same world as? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense, does it? Especially when, like you said, we are all living on this planet. We're all inhabiting the same planet. But we don't act like it sometimes. It's really quite sad. So I suppose this one's suggesting finding meaning because it allows you to just reconnect with something that is so hardwired within us fundamentally, which is community, tribe, supporting others.